So I'm going to talk about technopathic stress now. And basically, we're talking about electromagnetic radiation, and it's in two chunks. So first off, there's pulse radio frequency. So this is cell phones with a gap between the P and the H for some reason. Obviously, there's a zone of geopathic stress going through that word. Cell towers, cordless phones, Wi-Fi, smart meters. It uses microwave technology. The issue there is pulsed. So this is, it's a pulsing wave that comes through. But the other aspect to technopathic stress is power frequency fields. We call it dirty electricity. So power lines, transformers, electrical items in your home, anything that isn't insulated. So, I've actually meant to grab it. I've got equipment that can measure EMF frequency and check to see if there's any wiring that is unshielded. So old wiring is terrible. It will create technopathic stress, and I've got a machine that will beep and squeak when it finds it. But also your fridge freezer, your clock radios. I don't know if people have clock radios anymore. And it's really interesting because in my paranormal work, what we always do when we go into a location is we'll do a baseline measurement with EMF detectors to see if the electromagnetic field is contributing to the individual feeling, like they're being watched or they're haunted or something's making them sick or the hairs are going up on the back of the neck. These are all things that you can feel in areas of high technopathic stress. So we always take the equipment out and see what's going on there. Clock radios are terrible, and we sleep. Our head is right next to these clock radios. I'll talk about cell phones separately. The wireless phone. If you've got a wireless phone, it's going to be given off loads. They are notoriously bad for EMF. And think about it: in your kitchen, you've got your cooker, you've got your fridge, you've got your microwave, and it's all converging, and you're standing in there in this wonderful zone of EMF frequency. Now, there's no standard regulation in that. Countries set their own safe exposure limits. So that's about frequency levels and time for exposure. And put this in the context of scientists not supporting the fact that EMF, electromagnetic radiation, can affect your health and well-being. Think about who the big players are. So you've got the telecommunications industry. We often say that the pharmaceutical industry are the kind of the big bad wolf. The telecommunications industry totally dominates in terms of their buying power. When you think about the 5G contracts and the Wi-Fi contracts and the cell phone, placements, you're talking about an awful lot of money, billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that these companies pay to our governments to have the license to be able to run Wi-Fi. So this is big business at a very high level, but also locally as well. These cell phone companies will pay our schools to site their cell tower masts. They'll government buildings, they'll pay to site their cell tower. So it's definitely driven by money, and nobody can tell me that it isn't. And when money comes into it, I think inevitably some of the honesty goes out of the door. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it, to be honest with you. So each country has their own set safe limits. Europe, excluding the UK, Europe has some of the better ones. India's pretty good as well. Canada, not so good. Their levels are higher than other parts of Europe as well. And think about 5G. These are higher frequencies. We're going to get more transmitters because the wave doesn't go as fast. You're going to have more transmitters, so an increased exposure as well. In Europe, they have legislation that bans Wi-Fi in schools. In France, they've removed Wi-Fi from public buildings. Radio frequency, it works on microwave technology. What does microwaves do? It heats things up. So it's heating us up. Talk about that in a moment. But is there a link to climate change? I think that's a very interesting proposition. We have a net over the world of Wi-Fi and radio frequency. And so I think it's just something interesting to dip our toe in the water of. So, as I say, there is a difference of opinion, but there is so much research out there if you care to look for it. And I think we have to be cultivating a critical brain, some critical thinking around some of this stuff, and doing our own research. So don't take my word for it. You can walk away from this presentation and say, yeah, she's a nice girl, but I'm still going to do what I do, and that's fine. But do some research, find out what non-mainstream research and science is showing you. And you might be surprised. There is a cumulative effect. Now, scientists, they support the fact that radio frequency has a biological effect. So that's evidenced in research. What they don't support is that biological effect leads to health issues. That's what their problem is. They also do accept that there are some people that have a hypersensitivity to this. They call it hypersensitivity, but they will not budge on it has an impact on health. And I can't go there with them on that. So if you have got electromagnetic hypersensitivity, sleep disturbances, insomnia, hey, sleep again. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. Headaches, depression, depressive symptoms, tiredness and fatigue, itchy sensation on your skin, lack of concentration, changes in memory, dizziness, irritability, loss of appetite and weight loss, restlessness and anxiety, nausea and skin burning and tingling. These are all things that have been associated with electromagnetic hypersensitivity. I remember I worked for UVic when I first came over to Canada, and one student that was so sensitive. I mean, literally, it was driving her mad because she could not get out of the soup, the electromagnetic soup. She couldn't work, she couldn't study. And where do you go in the world that has no, Wi-Fi or electricity, or there's very few places you can go. So I really felt for her. Let's talk about biological versus health effects, and what makes a difference. So we talk about length of exposure, and particularly at night, and there's an individual sensitivity as well. So we're not all equal in body mass and how we absorb things, and there's a whole heap of complexity in the human being that makes it difficult to replicate it over and over and over and over again. But this is research that has been done. But let me talk about at night. When we're doing a healthy home assessment, we're really keen to understand what's happening in the bedroom, not where misses, but is there any technopathic or geopathic stress that is under the bed? And the reason why this is so important to us is because of a night, our bodies need to rest. We need good quality sleep for health and wellness. Now, the sun goes down, and with it, the natural EMF reduces because the sun goes down. So it allows our bodies to relax. It allows our bodies to rest. But at night, our brain activates. And what it does is it gives the order to our cells to regenerate. So, to split into two and to, then split into two. So it gives that order. It also asks the defender cells to go out and make sure that it's eradicating anything that is an issue for us. Now, where there are high geopathic stress and technopathic stress, it affects that signal. In effect, our brain can't give that signal to our cells, or our cells can't hear that signal happening. And so, therefore, it's, our important cells aren't doing what they need to do, which will lead to immune issues over time. And I've watched some interesting videos, and it was under a microscope, and it was white blood cells, and it was exposed to radio frequency, and the white blood cell died. And this is an independent researcher doing some amazing work. So there's evidence out there to say that there is a health effect for this stuff. Another interesting thing about the night is, overnight, our pineal gland releases melatonin. Now, not only is melatonin good for sleep, it has a cancer busting aspect to it. And geopathic stress and technopathic stress stops the release of melatonin. And I think that's significant. What has been evidenced, and this is where we get to this stickiness with scientists around biological effects versus health effects. They're willing to say that they see changes in temperature, the blood-brain barrier, there's changes there, changes in melatonin, changes in calcium levels. They see DNA damage and changes in gene expression, but they're unwilling to say, and that results in a health issue. We know that men who have their cell phones in their pockets have reduced sperm production. The fertility clinics, that's the thing that they say to men all the time: take your cell phone out your pocket. So we know that it reduces sperm production, and it's about heat. So this is microwave technology. So it's heating. And our cell phone it's so smart. It's smarter than me. But if you look at the output of a cell phone, so it has periods of nothing, and then it'll peak, well, very, very low, and then it'll peak when you're getting a text, or you're getting, you're making a call, so it'll peak, and then it'll go down to nothing. But cell phones, smartphones, they're constantly checking in with the cell tower. They're saying, "Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here." And every couple of seconds when it's doing that, "Hey, I'm here," it's peaking. So think about that overnight. It's on your bedstand, and thousands of times a night it's connecting with the cell tower. So again, this pulse is happening all the time. The heat that's connected to that. So I hope none of you keep your cell phone in your bra. They've done some medical imaging, and literally the cancerous growths are exactly where cell phones have sat in women's bras. So increased instances of that. We know that it disrupts the brain's ability to send signals to our cells to regenerate. I talked about that. We know that children acting out in school, not being able to focus, talked about that with the research. Geopathic stress, technopathic stress, it stops us getting good quality sleep, and that is so essential for our health and wellness. That's going to kick our immune system down to the curb. Poor concentration and focus, it can lead to tripping and falling, and some of those, we say we're clumsy, but actually we're probably just full of geopathic and technopathic stress. And research exists that links geopathic stress and technopathic stress to cancer, ADHD, chronic fatigue syndrome, sudden infant death, SIDS. That's really interesting. They've done some research on sudden infant death, and they can see changes in melatonin levels. And we know that technopathic stress and geopathic stress impacts the production of melatonin. Is that a coincidence? Maybe. Infertility, birth defects. Think about a fetus in the womb, a growing cell formation. and it's being exposed to these frequencies. Also linked to depression, arthritis, and more. I could go on. And remember, I'm not trying to frighten you in all of this. What I'm trying to do is say you can take some steps that can reduce your exposure to some of these things. And why wouldn't we do it? Also, I will say that if you are suffering from any, kind of health, or you have some concerns, first and foremost, you must visit your physician. You must always, do that. That's an important part of taking responsibility for your own health and wellness. And I think it's probably good to look at some other, aspects to what might be going on as well. I mentioned Emoto earlier. So this is a droplet of water. This is it's the same water sample, so it's mineral water. It was actually submitted to the Emoto Institute. It was a water company that has this kind of device that makes healthy water, and they wanted to do some tests on it. And so this is the mineral water, and as you can see, it's a nice, beautiful, kind of lovely cell formation in there. And then it was exposed to EMF radiation. It was heated on an induction stove for 60 seconds. And so you can see the changes that happened there. How much of our body is water? Just saying. Talked about geopathic stress and technopathic stress. We also look at geopsychic stress, which is a very posh word for, any unbalanced energies within the property from present or previous occupants, from the land that the house is built on. So it's the spirits and things that go bump in the night. So we look at earthbound souls, energy imprints, thought forms, power objects, elementals, guardians of the environment, portals. We also dip into ETs, looking at off-world entities. So how do you know that you might have some unbalanced energies in your property? Things that you will experience are cold spots, feelings of being watched, but we know that could also be a technopathic stress. But unexplained mood changes, things go missing a lot. Got a current client at the moment that things are going missing every week in her house. Unexplained noises, bumps and knocks, shadows, apparitions, light anomalies, electrical equipment disruptions. I'm doing a course on parapsychology specific to poltergeist activity, and we're studying one case at the moment from Germany, and literally whatever is going on or was going on was working through the electrical equipment. So lights would go on and off, and but particularly through the phone lines. So their phone bills went up exponentially. There was, I haven't got it now because we've got cell phones, but the talking clock, I don't even know if you had it in Canada, where you could, call and get the time. Whatever it was, kept ringing the speaking clock. So their phone bills went up exponentially. So we know that they can definitely work through electrical equipment. There may be parts of the property where you don't feel welcome, or you might get persistent and unusual bad luck. So we can do a deep dive into the geopsychic stress aspects of what's going on for a client. We also look at personal health as well. So dip into chakra alignment and blockages, energy influences, so lunar and solar, any disturbances of the aura. We can check in on DNA, cellular memory clearing, psychic cords, karmic issues, past life memories, early life triggers. We can even go down parallel lives, psychic attack, vows or contracts, fractured soul, parasites, traces of heavy metals in the body are all examples of things that we look at in the personal health section of the process. But we also look at beneficial energies as well. So, where are the beneficial energy spots that, you can leverage? So we will identify those, the places where, if you spend time on, they're going to be healing and balancing. And we make some recommendations around colour and kind of frequency as well. So how do you know if you're experiencing technopathic or geopathic stress? Well, if you can answer any of the yeses to that kind of poll we did, then potentially you might be experiencing some of those. And really, I would, assess your energy, pay attention to how you feel outside of the home and how you feel inside of the home. Donna was mentioning her daughter and her partner who felt really crappy when they were in the home, but outside felt great. That's a really good indicator that there's something going on in the property. So really get conscious of that and pay attention to it and see where your energy levels are. Inside the home, move from room to room. Pay attention to the feelings that you have in your body, and make this a kind of physical experience. Each time you come into a threshold, pause a little bit, take stock of your energy, and then step through and pay attention to how you feel, and slowly kind of move around the room, assessing your feelings. If you can douse, take your pendulum out. I would recommend pendulum over rods. If you're not used to rods, they can be a bit tricky to start with. But what you can do is, so there's your pendulum, put it in a backwards and forwards swing. So this is a neutral swing. So this is, it's kind of just assessing the energy, and you can just ask, are there any areas of geopathic stress, and then just walk around, and then when there are, your pendulum will do something a bit like that. So that gives you an indication that there's something going on there, and you can see whether you feel that, and then check it up with pendulum to see whether that's confirmed. Investigate and eliminate any other possible causes. Go to your doctor, make sure that if you've got health concerns, yes, check in with a dowser, but also check in with your doctor as well. So I can't stress that enough. That's really, really important. But see if there are other things that might be going on. If you've got things missing from your home, if you've got a child that's taken them. If not, well, maybe you've got something more spiritual going on. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can do. Easy fix: move your furniture, move your bed and your couch. Often say that to a client. If they're sleeping over a geopathic stress zone, move your bed, move it to somewhere where there isn't a geopathic stress zone. Now, that's not always possible, but if you can, move your bed. And I actually moved my bed, and it wasn't for geopathic stress; it was technopathic stress. My bed head was right, kind of on a kitchen wall. That the fridge was behind there, and there was huge EMF coming out of there right into my little noggin. So the bed was moved. Turn your Wi-Fi off at night. Now, we're all so dependent upon our phones, but I can't stress enough that turning your Wi-Fi off, or put it on airplane mode, or remove Wi-Fi enabled devices from your bedroom are all really important steps. Easy thing to do, to get into the habit of doing that. Move electronic devices further away from your bed. Remember, we really want to pay attention to where we sleep, because all of those things that impact us overnight, we want to try and reduce those. Change metal bed frames. If you've got a metal bed, if you can afford to, change it to a non-metal bed frame, because it holds a frequency. Think about disrupting the energy. So, bring some crystals in, good EMF disruptors. Now, what I can't say, because I've measured this, I've measured it with equipment. These crystals don't block EMF, but it disrupts the energy. So things like shungite, black tourmaline, amazonite, smoky quartz are really good energy disruptors. So you can place some crystals. Salt lamps are amazing. They create negative ions in the atmosphere, which is really good for health. That's why you feel so good at the ocean, because it's full of negative ions. But salt lamps will disrupt EMF. Orgonite, you could do a whole lesson on orgonite, but that's a really good energy disruptor. Also think about your personal energy as well, and make sure that you ground. Go out into the forest, put your feet on the floor, allow the earth to rid you of the geopathic and technopathic stress that you're holding. But also there's grounding technology that you can purchase as well. The shielding technology. Now there's a lot of stuff out there. It's a growing and booming business, and so I'm going to say do due diligence, making sure that any shielding technology that you purchase works. But some really interesting things, like there is a paint that you can paint on your house that will reflect EMF. It's, what's it called? It comes from Germany or Austria. I can't think what it's called now, something shield. But you can paint it out. Pardon?
I was just looking at that last night. There's a paint and there's a window film as well.
The window film. There's also like a mesh that you can get your roof. So if your house is kind of on a pathway from a cell phone tower or some hydro cables or what have you, you can shield your house. There's even wearable technology. So like something that you can wear under your clothes that stops the EMF from being absorbed. Also headwear, and I'm not talking about silver tinfoil hats, actually headwear that you can buy that kind of stops that. So that's kind of shielding technology. You can purchase that for sure. If you have a wireless phone, change it to a wired phone and get rid of it at all, because they are notoriously bad. Pay attention to your aura, cleanse your aura, make sure that you're kind of getting rid of the stress that your aura is kind of holding there. Get out in nature and ground, what I talked about. Change the orientation of how you sleep. This is really, really fascinating. So the Earth's magnetic field, it comes from the north, and it comes out and down and then up into the south. So it's this kind of motion. And we're exactly the same. So our own electromagnetic field comes out of our heads, comes round and goes up under our feet. So it's exactly the same, north to south. The amount of people that sleep south to north and wonder why they don't get a good sleep. Change your bed, change your orientation of how you sleep will work wonders with you, because you're energetically sleeping upside down, basically. Do not keep your cell phone in your pocket or your bra. You want to have a distance to it. This is microwave technology. It heats up. You don't want it to be close on you. They've done medical imaging on people using children using cell phones, and that's a whole other thing which frightens the life out of me. But holding it to the cheek and then doing imaging and just seeing how much of the skull and the face heats up by having the cell phone connected in. Use earbuds when making calls. So get your distance. Use wired. Do not use the Wi-Fi ones, because you're not cutting any Wi-Fi out from that. So have a distance between your phone. When you take it, when you make a call, you take a call. You haven't, you're doing text. Always do it through some headphones. Limit your exposure to cell phones, and then ultimately work with a house healer to identify and harmonize stress zones. So, and this is a healthy home audit and harmonization. So we undertake it by dowsing, and as I say, we do work remotely, but we do we can do on-site visits as well. They are possible. So I kind of split it into packages. So there's a geopathic, technopathic, and geopsychic, kind of personal health. So that's kind of the full package. You get everything. It covers around 50 different aspects of detrimental energy that might be present in a home. But then I'll also do smaller kind of mini packages of combinations of those. So geopathic, technopathic, etc. And so the package includes consultation. So we get to chat about what's going on. I then do the healthy home assessment. I then move to the harmonization. and then we meet via Zoom to do a debrief, and you get a full written report, and some recommendations. There's always recommendations for the client, and this is an example of, you know, kind of the floor planets. The client provides a little bit of an outline of the space, and then I can work there to identify what's coming in. And this is kind of, you know, detrimental aspects. So the client will get this as well alongside a full report. I also offer training in all of this. So I have an introduction to dowsing. It's 2 days. Also an earth energy dowsing, so we get more into the energy layers and geospirals and all sorts of cool things. Dowsing for health and wellness, so that's kind of a 1 day. That's a personal practice, and I'm actually working on developing a dowsing for health practitioner program, so that should be coming by the end of the year. But then I also have my house healing practitioner, which is around 12 months of dedicated practice. And as I say, I've got a few of my students that are halfway through in the Zoom room, but I also do other things as well, like crystal healing, sound healing, Reiki. You know, we've got other things as well. And they're my 2 websites. You can check me out on there, and I'm going to shut up.